You look around and ask yourself a question most people are too afraid to finish. Why does it feel like no matter how hard I run, the finish line keeps moving? You work, you sacrifice, you follow every rule you were handed since childhood, and yet the gap between where you are and where you want to be doesn't shrink. It haunts you. Here's what nobody tells you. The problem isn't your effort. The problem is the map you've been handed. Most people are navigating a financial world using directions written for a different era. Go to school, get a job, save a little, retire someday. That was the blueprint. And for millions of people, it leads somewhere deeply disappointing. Not because they failed, but because the map was drawn by people who had already arrived. What I'm about to share isn't a motivational speech. It isn't a believe in yourself pep talk or another recycled list of habits rich people follow before 5 a.m. This is a clear-eyed, honest look at how wealth actually moves, how it's built, how it compounds, and more importantly, why most people unknowingly work against themselves while thinking they're doing everything right. If you're ready to stop working inside a system you don't understand and start understanding it well enough to design your own, let's begin. The first thing you need to shatter is this: the idea that wealth rewards effort directly. It doesn't. It never has. Wealth rewards leverage. And those are two entirely different things. Think about it this way. A man who digs a ditch works hard. A man who builds a machine that digs ditches works once. A man who sells that machine to 1,000 people works smart. Same unit of energy. Radically different outcomes. This isn't unfair. It's physics. Leverage is simply force multiplied. And once you understand that, you stop asking, how can I work harder? And start asking, where can I apply my energy so that it multiplies? The philosopher Machiavelli understood something essential about human systems. Power doesn't flow to those who deserve it. It flows to those who understand it. Understanding is the advantage. Not cruelty, not manipulation. Understanding. And the first thing to understand is the nature of your own attention. Here's a pattern you've probably never noticed about yourself. When you feel financial pressure, your thinking narrows. Fear does that. It's biological. When the brain perceives a threat, it zooms in on the immediate problem and loses access to strategic, long-term thinking. This is why financial stress is self-perpetuating. Stress narrows thinking. Narrow thinking produces reactive decisions. Reactive decisions create more stress. The wealthy aren't immune to fear. They've just built systems that give them room to breathe before they decide. That breathing room is called liquidity. That discipline is called patience. And together, they create something powerful, the ability to choose your moment instead of reacting to everyone else's. This is the first law. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. And the quality of your decisions is controlled by the quality of your mental state when you make them. You cannot build wealth from a place of constant panic. You must create stability, even a small amount, so that your brain can operate strategically instead of reactively. This isn't a luxury. It's the foundation. Now, let's talk about silence. Not the uncomfortable kind, the strategic kind. Most people talk to manage their anxiety. They fill every room with noise, every deal with chatter, every conversation with explanation. And in doing so, they hand over an enormous amount of information for free. In a negotiation, the first person to reveal their number loses positioning. In a pitch, the person who talks the most often convinces the least. In a relationship, the person who explains every decision loses mystery and authority. Silence is not passivity. Silence is collection. When you go quiet, other people move. They fill the space. They reveal what they want, what they fear, what they're willing to offer. Silence gives you data without cost. Practice this in your next important conversation. Make your point once, clearly, then stop. Don't backfill it with justifications. Don't soften it. Don't ramble. Let it land. You will be astonished at what the other person reveals when they feel the pressure of an empty space. This is especially powerful in negotiation. The person who can hold silence the longest almost always walks away with the better deal. Not because they're aggressive, because they're composed. And composure reads as power. The second law is one that separates the financially strategic from the financially reactive. Emotion is not your enemy. Unexamined emotion is. Every financial mistake follows the same emotional signature. Excitement leads to overcommitting. Fear leads to selling too early. Envy leads to chasing trends. Boredom leads to unnecessary risk. These aren't character flaws. They're human wiring. The question isn't whether you'll feel them. The question is whether you build a process that prevents feelings from becoming decisions without your consent. The wealthy are not emotionless. Watch them closely, and you'll see they care deeply. But they've developed what I call the pause. The gap between impulse and action where strategy lives. In that pause, they ask, is this aligned with my long-term position? Is this fear speaking, or is this data speaking? Am I making this decision because I believe in it, or because everyone else is? If you can build that pause into your financial behavior, you have already outpaced 90% of the people around you, because most people are running on autopilot, spending reflexively, reacting emotionally, and wondering why nothing compounds. Now let's go deeper, because a pause alone isn't enough if your strategy is fundamentally flawed. Here's the third law. Stop trading time. Start building systems. Every hour you sell is an hour you cannot get back. That's not just philosophy. It's math. There are only so many hours in a day, and therefore a hard ceiling on what trading time can produce. This is why talented, hard-working people hit a wall. They've maxed out the currency they're trading. The shift happens when you start building things that generate value, whether you're present or not. A business process that runs without you. An investment that compounds while you sleep. A piece of content that attracts customers for years. A relationship that sends referrals indefinitely. These are systems. And systems are the fundamental difference between people who own their time and people who rent their time to someone else. This doesn't mean quit your job tomorrow. It means start building something alongside your income. Even if slowly, that doesn't require your continuous presence to function. The compounding of systems is slow at first and then shockingly fast. Most people quit before it accelerates. The fourth law is about narrative, and it's one that makes most honest people uncomfortable. But hear it out. People don't make decisions based on reality. They make decisions based on their perception of reality. This is not an invitation to deceive anyone. It is a reminder that the story surrounding something shapes how people value it more than the thing itself. This is why branding matters. Why great founders can attract investment before they have revenue. Why some restaurants are packed and others are empty despite serving similar food. The story is doing work that the product cannot do alone. If you're building anything, whether it's a business, a personal brand, a pitch, or a resume, you must learn to communicate not just what you do, but why it matters and what it means. Meaning is what people pay premium for. Logic closes doors. Story opens them. This isn't deception. It's communication at its highest level. The most ethical, honest thing you can do is learn to make the true value of what you offer legible to the people who need it. Now we arrive at the fifth law, and it's perhaps the most misunderstood. Patience is not waiting. Patience is preparation with timing. The common myth is that the wealthy got lucky, that they were simply in the right place at the right time. But almost every case of dramatic financial acceleration you'll find in history was preceded by years of quiet preparation that nobody noticed. They built knowledge while others built complaints. They built capital while others built debt. They built networks while others built social media followings. And then, when the moment appeared, they were ready to move when everyone else was paralyzed. In investing, this looks like buying undervalued assets when sentiment is negative. In business, this looks like entering a market when competitors are retreating. In careers, this looks like developing a skill before it becomes in demand. Predatory patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things in the right sequence so that when the window opens, you can walk through it decisively. Let's talk about relationships, because this is where most wealth conversations go wrong. People think wealth is built alone, in isolation, in cold, calculated solitude. That's a myth. Virtually every significant financial breakthrough in history was accelerated by relationships, partnerships, mentors, introductions, trust built over time. But here's what the strategic thinker understands. Not every relationship is an equal investment. Your time, energy, and attention are finite. And generosity that isn't sustainable isn't generosity. It's depletion. The sixth law: invest in relationships where value flows in both directions, where both people grow. This doesn't mean keeping score. It means being intentional. Spending time with people who challenge your thinking, who expose you to new information, who will tell you hard truths because they respect you enough to be honest. These relationships compound just like money does. And protect your mental environment as carefully as you protect your financial one. The people you spend the most time with shape your ceiling of possibility. Average thinking is contagious. So is excellence. Here's the seventh law, and it's one that requires real honesty. Comfort is the enemy of compounding. Every major financial upgrade in your life will require you to tolerate a period of discomfort before the benefits arrive. Learning a new skill, starting a business, moving to a city with more opportunity, saying no to immediate spending to fund long-term investment. The discomfort comes first. The reward comes later. Most people have this backwards. They spend now and hope to save later. They consume first and plan to invest someday. They stay comfortable and assume opportunity will find them. The wealthy have a different relationship with discomfort. They've learned to read it not as a signal to stop, but as confirmation that they're moving in a meaningful direction. Because nothing worth building is comfortable to start. This is the discipline behind the discipline. Before you can control money, you must control your relationship with immediate gratification. And that is an internal battle fought every single day in ordinary choices. Now, let's bring it all together. Because every law I've shared orbits a single axis. Self-mastery creates financial mastery. The person who masters their attention can spot opportunities others miss. The person who masters their emotions can hold positions others abandon. The person who masters their time can build systems others never start. The person who masters their words can communicate value others can't express. The person who masters their patience can access markets others are too afraid to enter. None of these are about exploiting anyone. They're about becoming the kind of person whose presence in any situation creates more value than was there before. And that person, reliably, over time, attracts wealth, not because the universe is sentimental, because value creation is the engine of every economy. There is a final evolution, and it happens quietly. It doesn't announce itself. One day you stop chasing money as though it were a destination, and you start building the conditions in which money accumulates naturally. You're no longer reactive. You're not running scared. You're not performing for approval or buying things to signal status. You become something rarer and more powerful than any of that. You become intentional. And an intentional person is genuinely difficult to manipulate, not because they're cold, but because they know what they're building and why. They don't abandon a 10-year plan because of the bad week. They don't blow their capital chasing someone else's trend. They don't mistake motion for progress or busyness for productivity. They move like water, quietly, persistently, finding every crack in every obstacle. And over time, like water, they reshape the terrain. This isn't a fantasy. This is physics applied to financial behavior. Consistency compounds. Strategy compounds. Self-knowledge compounds. And eventually, the numbers on a screen reflect the depth of thinking that produced them. So here's a question I'll leave you with. Not, are you working hard enough? You probably are. Not, do you want it bad enough? Wanting isn't the gap. The question is, are you building the right things in the right sequence with the right understanding of how wealth actually moves? Because if your answer is not yet, then that's where the work begins. Not in motivation, not in hustle culture, in understanding, in strategy, in the slow, compounding, disciplined application of laws that have governed how wealth moves since long before either of us was born. The information is available to anyone. The discipline to apply it is available to fewer. And the patience to let it compound is available to fewer still. That's where your edge lives. If this landed, if something shifted, come back. Because this is just the beginning of how deep this goes.